how did you go about getting in contact with, for example, Netflix? Like, how did you?
Or even the influencers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that beginning process, like, yeah, how did you? Because obviously, if you get one or two, like, then it's sort of like, you know, snowballs.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that first couple, how did you do that?
Yeah, it definitely is the domino effect for sure. In the early stages, I was quite lucky where, so prior to starting my agency, I had this, so my first ever full-time job, so I did the 3 years of making no money. Then in 2018, in January, I got a job at this company called ESL, which is the world's biggest esports company.
Okay.
And I was hired to work in their influencer marketing division and work with content creators. So I built a lot of network from them, and I was managing a few creators at that business. And then when I started my own, they kind of came across with me. So I had this little foundation and base. For me, actually, interestingly, the early stages, where we've got the most creator connection was Twitter. Now I would never really recommend people to go through Twitter because the DMs and the system, they're spam. But early stages for my industry, gaming and tech, cold DMing creators on Twitter was a very good place to go. Generally, the way that I'd always do it was, if I saw that creators that I knew in my network were mutual following and friends with others, I would incentivize them to connect me with their creator friend. I would say, you know, if we do a deal, I'll give you a kickback or something along those lines. And then over time, just kind of built a network out from there. Now, honestly, it's, in my opinion, quite easy to get in touch with creators if you have a good enough value proposition for them. And in most cases, the way that we do things is the value proposition is, we have a big brand that wants to sponsor you and pay you money. And most creators, it's pretty much the fundamental of it is, I have this big company that wants to give you money, and most creators, like nowadays, obviously, all the creators are trying to monetize. They're trying to turn it into a career. So in most cases, they are very open to responding. There's obviously your, you know, high ticket, very large content creators that are very hard to get in touch with. You have to go through mutual connections and they work with people who trust them. But that's just about the network expansion, and the same way that I would do it is just the way that I do it nowadays for a lot of our clients who want to work with business creators is, because I'm in this online space, I'll ask a friend. So there's Jordan Platten is a great example actually. I asked a client if I wanted to work with him, I asked a friend who knew him, can you reach out to Jordan, let him know that we've got this client who wants to work with him, if he's interested, put us in touch. And that's the way that we build that network. With other creators, it's literally just, we have this brand who's interested in working with you, here's the logos we're interested in, are you interested? They want to, you know, we wouldn't say, you know, they want to pay, but it's that essentially that way of doing things. And because the brand deal ecosystem is very mature now, you get a very high response rate, and then you just add these creators into your network, and then you just continually reach out to them for opportunities, and you build the relationship from there. In terms of brands, in the early stages, we had a lot of brands come inbound to us because I managed these few creators, and the benefit of managing content creators is that you essentially get all of their inbound opportunities. So we manage all their inboxes and their emails.
Oh.
So brands are reaching out directly to them. We would do a brand deal with that creator. Then we would say upsell our other creators and, you know, pitch them as well. And then we were able to get those brands inbound and then try and upsell them to a more agency related service. Nowadays, it's a lot of like going to events is very big for us. Like I travel to go to a lot of like gaming, tech, influencer, marketing related events and meeting these people in person, because our industry is very relationship focused. At the end of the day, it's a brand working with a human being, an influencer at the end of the day, trying to talk to other human beings. It's all relationship in a kind of three-way dynamic. So the agency also has to be focused on creating a relationship. So the Netflix one, for example, was we actually cold emailed this VR experience they wanted to sign, who were doing a partnership with Netflix. Very good timing at the time. And then we kind of got in to do the influencer marketing for the VR experience. We pitched to them, and then Netflix got kind of brought into from that picture. We're actually now working with them again on a Stranger Things, the series is launching. So we're doing like another Stranger Things VR experience with Netflix and them at the moment. But a lot of it is just like nurture in my industry. So I see like a lot of these online videos which are like, you know, you do your cold email, you get them on a one call close. It's so different. Like so most of our big clients we'll reach out to, we'll probably not get any business from them to begin with. We'll go through a very big nurture process of like sending them free value, inviting them to events, webinars, getting in touch with them when they're doing like their financial planning cycle, because these are like, we work with very like large brands, so like, you know, your Fortune 500 companies. It's not like reaching out to like a
local gym,
local gym or whatever, who's like making decisions and small spends every so often. Like, these guys are planning. The budgets that we work with are 6 figures, 7 figures, right? So they're having to plan like in certain time periods across the year when they're doing budget planning for a financial year. So it's like timing is very important. So like if the timing's not right at that point, we'll go through a big nurture process. One of our biggest client that spends the most money with us every year is a game publisher called Ubisoft, and they have like Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, like all their biggest games. I got in touch with them September 2023 initially. We then just kind of stayed in touch with them until April 2024 when it was their new financial year and they were planning new agencies. We got on their like radar, had some conversations. We didn't get our first bit of business with them until August 2024, so almost 11 months on.
Wow.
Now they're our biggest client. They spend millions with us a year, but that's just all because you have to go through that process. But it's valuable at the end of the day because the clients that we're trying to work with are obviously spending a lot more. But it's really events. LinkedIn is very big for us in terms of engagement and reaching out. LinkedIn, cold email, and then like inviting people to like webinars, lead magnets, free value. Referrals is very big for us as well, and then the ongoing nurture process with these brands.
I'm so glad you brought that up actually, because I went through sales training, and in that sales training they were like, one call closed, let's do it. But it depends on the industry you're in, very, very important.
Yeah.
So like with a local gym, for example, where you might be working with 50 clients and like a churn and burn type of thing, then the sales cycle, which is basically, from first touch point to close, like how long is that, is usually a lot shorter. But if you're just only working with like a select few people, but like millions of dollars in LTV, like, they spend a lot of money, then the sales cycle is usually a lot longer.
Yeah, the sales cycle is obviously dependent on their potentially what they're obviously going to overall spend, and there's so many more decision makers at that size, especially when someone's committing $1 million. There's so many different people it has to go through, so you've got to go through pitching process with one person who then has to take it through to their boss, to then to the decision maker, and like there's a lot more that goes into it. So I totally agree. It's like people who are starting online business, they see the videos online because that's all people talk about, but they don't put it in perspective of the different types of clients. And even people coming in, so I have this influencer marketing program, people coming in with this warped perception of, okay, so Sarah, we're just gonna like get on these calls with like these big brands and close them in the call. Like, that's never happening. Like it's a much longer sales cycle, but at the end of the day, like the values that you're gonna be receiving and doing these campaigns with are gonna be much bigger checks than your smaller retainers that you would sell in other areas and industries.
And that nurturing process that might take, for example, let's say with Ubisoft for like 11 months, was that like just sending emails of like, when you say free value,
like the follow-up procedure, what was that?
Yeah, so generally our follow-up procedure, like we would, so say that Ubisoft told us like we'll do our financial planning in April, so we would like plan out what
so you would note that?
So we would note that down our CRM, like we know this is like their time frame that they're going to be kind of wanting to have some discussions. So we would then, at that point, so our process would usually be, if we do a big bit of work that's relevant to them, like a big case study with a lot of good results. So, for example, if we did a big game publisher and we did a game launch, it was really successful, we would then send that to Ubisoft and basically like, we did this, here's some key highlights and examples, just so they kind of know that we're actively working in this space, we're doing valuable things. We then create like a lot of lead magnets. So we made like an Instagram whitelisting guide, how to master YouTube influencer marketing, how brands who don't do gaming can work with gaming creators, how brands can do affiliate influencer marketing, and we would then send relevant things at different timings based on like what's happening in the market to them that provide them free value. Sometimes as well, like if we see them doing a campaign or some competitor, we would then give them like a free well, this is what you guys did, this is what we think you could potentially improve for next time, or this is what a competitor did, this is how you could apply it to yourselves. So just like these little bits of free value, not even with the intent of trying to sell them anything at this point, just to show them that like we know what we're talking about, we're actively doing this in the market, and that when you're ready for this conversation, we're a good potential partner.
And it shows you actually care.
And it shows you actually care because we're like putting that effort. So we would usually, depending on like how long like the potential nurture process would be, so we'd usually like reach out once a month or once every couple of months. If there's something that's a bit more timely, then we would do it more frequently. So if I just did a campaign today, but I've already reached out to Ubisoft 2 weeks ago, I'd still probably send them this because it's relevant to them, for example, or we'd invite them to events. So we sometimes host dinners. So like around these events, we'd get like 20 brand marketers in a room to kind of come together. We'd pay for the full dinner. They can kind of come just meet other marketers because these marketers like to meet other people to gain strategies. So we'd invite them to these events to make these kind of like exclusive events as well, get to know them, because people like to work with who they know and they trust. So having like these dinners, me and my team are there kind of giving free value, getting to know them, they like feel like they gain to start to trust us and things like that. So those are the sort of strategies that we would use in that sort of process.
And that, sort of like free value you guys were saying, that's all on email, you guys sent over?
Yeah, we usually send that stuff on email generally. If you know, for example, we get them on WhatsApp or Discord, or whatever, I send them stuff like that. It would some of these bigger brands are, until you start working with them, are more want to stick on like email, but once you start working with them, we usually move to like Slack or Discord or whatever. But generally, when we haven't sold them anything, it's typically run on email.